My best bets for Week 11 Thursday Night Football as the Washington Commanders travel to Philly to take on the Eagles in a divisional matchup that might end up deciding the NFC East. Before the season, we invested in the Eagles to win the division, so you know who I'm going to be rooting for. But in this video, I'm going to give you my two favorite player props, and one of them is plus money. Let's do a status report, just like we do every Thursday. Let's take a look at our record. We cashed out on Thursday Night Football. We profited on Sunday, but we lost on Monday, which brings our total for the year down to plus 1.15 units. Green is good, but I'm sick of being above mediocre. I want to be great. So let's start a heater on this Thursday with these two player props. Now, if you're stumbling onto this page for the first time, welcome. My name is Peter Apple, and this channel is the home for all of my NFL picks moving forward. And I'm going for my fourth straight profitable season. So if you're into that sort of thing, make sure to like the video before we get started and also subscribe for all future videos on this channel for this season, next season. We're going to keep going, keep giving NFL best bets, and make sure to let me know in the comments what you like for this Thursday night football game and what you think of my picks. I'll be sure to answer all the comments just like I always do. And as a reminder, this channel is sponsored by BetMGM. It is the perfect time to use promo code JustGridiron for a first bet offer up to $1,500. Deposit at least $10. And if you lose your first wager on BetMGM after using code JustGridiron, you'll get it all back up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Don't just leave these offers on the table, right? Don't be lazy. Get after it. However, gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply. As I said before, we are heavily invested in the Eagles to win the division, so this is a huge game for that future. I wanted to back the Eagles at -3, but at 3.5, that kind of feels like exactly where the line is. That's where I make the line. In terms of the total, soft lean to the under, but it's mostly based on historical trends backing an under like this in an outdoor divisional game. But I've noticed, and especially on Thursday Night Football, where the defenses might be a little tired and just home games in Philly against competent offenses often lead to 50-point games. So nothing on the total, nothing on the spread. Let's talk about player props. And which brought me to the player prop market was because I like the Eagles to score in this game. And I really want to attack this Washington secondary. They were in desperate need for a cornerback, and they added Marshawn Lattimore from the Saints. It's a really good move, but he's out for this game. They haven't really faced a lot of good QB competition, yet ranked 24th against the pass when we're looking at dropback EPA per play. And while looking at the secondary for Washington, I noticed that they're giving up a lot of passing touchdowns. They rank 22nd in that stat. And let's look at who they've faced, right? Because you got to face some good quarterbacks to be 22nd in the league. Week 1, Baker. Week 2, Daniel Jones. Week 3, Joe Burrow, all went over this. But then they had a pretty good stretch here against QBs like Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, Andy Dalton, Caleb Williams. Then Daniel Jones and Russell Wilson in the past 2 weeks have both gone over. In terms of EPA plus completion percentage over expectation, Jalen Hurts is 4th in the NFL. He's only behind Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow. Now, the Commanders have faced both Burrow and Lamar Jackson. Burrow threw for 3 touchdowns. He was awesome. And Lamar Jackson threw for 323 yards, but only had 1 touchdown because Derrick Henry had multiple rushing touchdowns in that game. So Lamar really didn't have to try in the red zone at all. This could be the way that this prop loses, right? If Saquon has 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, has an absolute field day, but the price on this Jalen Hurts over 1.5 passing touchdowns line is just too good to pass up to not at least try. Because especially, I want to back him when we get him at home. In Jalen Hurts' career, at home, 44 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. On the road, 35 touchdowns, 24 interceptions. Overall, he's been over this line in just 4 of 9 games this season, but in 4 home games this year, he's been over the line in 3 of them. If we look back to last year, he was over this line in just 6 of 18 games. Not very good, right? But if we look at home games, he was over this line in 5 of 8 of those. So in his last 12 home games, he's been over this line in 8 of them, which is a 66.7% hit rate. He's also been fantastic against Washington over the past 2 seasons, going over this line in both matchups in 2022 and both in 2023. So he's on a 4-game streak of going over 1.5 passing touchdowns against Washington. But now they have Dan Quinn. right? Who's a much better DC and, of course, head coach than what Washington used to have. But luckily, Dan Quinn was the DC for the Dallas Cowboys, right? Another division rival of the Eagles. So Jalen Hurts has faced him plenty of times. He went over this in 3 of the 4 games against the Dan Quinn-led defense in Dallas. And it's clearly better for Hurts when he has his full complement of weapons, right? It's not often that we get A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Dallas Goedert all playing in the same game. It doesn't happen all that often. They've been hurt so many different times at different points of the season. So this season, all 3 of those pass catchers with Jalen Hurts only played 3 times this year. He went over this line every single one of those games. And he had 6 home games last year with that full complement of weapons. He went over this line in 4 of those 6 games. So from all of this research, especially with Smith, Goddard, and Brown all playing, passing success rises. But that means something has to fall. Rushing yards. We talked a lot about how his passing increases at home, which obviously then affects his rushing yards. On the road, averaging 42.6 rushing yards. At home, 38.6. In 2 home games with his weapons, he was under in both times. In 2023, at home with all of his weapons, he was under in all 6 games. All of them. And against those Dan Quinn-led defenses in Dallas, because obviously this is different, his highest rushing yards output was 36 yards. In 4 games, he was under in all of them. In 7 games against Washington in his career, he's averaging just 29 rushing yards and only went over this line once, recording 44 rushing yards. So it's not like he even went crazy. And if we look at the last 10 games that he's played, he's been under this line in 8 of them, but is coming off 56 rushing yards against the Cowboys. His carries line opened at 10.5, but it's been creeping down. The under 9.5 is now juiced towards the under, and he's averaging about 4 yards per carry on the season. So at 9 carries, we're looking at 36 yards. If he goes over that, right, 10 carries, 40 yards. So at 41.5, I'll be on Jalen Hurts' under 41.5 rushing yards. And my model on Rithmm is aligned with my thinking here, giving him a 51.9% chance of going over 1.5 passing touchdowns, making the true line on that minus 108. At plus 133, this is a bet showing a lot of value. So at plus 125 or better, give me Jalen Hurts over 1.5 passing touchdowns. My model also supports under 41.5 rushing yards, giving us a 56% chance of going under 38.5, the lowest number in the market. So for my second play, Jalen Hurts under 41.5 rushing yards to win 1 unit. Now, I highly recommend downloading Rithmm. You can find the link in the description of this video to access your 7-day free trial. You can build your own AI-backed model, or you can use their back-tested model with tons of props and game predictions. And they also do other sports, right? If you're looking for more NBA, college football, college basketball picks, they do it all. Highly recommend. Go check that out in the description of this video. Let's go on a heater on Thursday with these 2 picks. I love them. And make sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications for my Sunday video, which will come out soon. Let's go 2-0 on Thursday Night Football. Why not us?